Welcome everyone. Tonight, this presentation is probably the most exciting presentation, I feel, of all of them that we have done. This is my favorite one to present. You will see as we talk tonight, you can probably guess from our display table what we're talking about. We're going to talk about great things actually that come in small packages. And of course, we're going to be talking about sprouts. Sprouts are exciting for a number of reasons. First of all, they're so simple to do. Anyone can do sprouting. It's not a complicated thing to do. And it's not an expensive thing to do. You can do sprouting for pennies, literally. It's not something that requires a large investment. And also the nutrients, as you will see as we go through, the nutrients that are contained in sprouts is incredible. And you're going to enjoy seeing that as we look at some of the sprouts tonight. So let's first of all take a look and see why we would want to sprout. First of all, sprouts grow in any climate, any time of the year. You don't have to wait for summer or spring to get your garden in or that type of thing. You can sprout any climate, any time of the year. Many years ago, we were working with a doctor in California. Very hot and dry down there. We saw a few raindrops once in the entire time that we were down there, and it literally was a few raindrops. You could actually count them in the sand. But we grew sprouts down there, and that's the great thing about them. They can grow anywhere. It's not dependent on climate or time of year. They require neither soil or sunshine, but are still rich in vitamins and minerals. Of course, we can grow our sprouts in soil, but we do not have to grow sprouts in soil. We've got sprouts that are growing here in the sprouter, and these sprouts are just growing without soil. They're just in the little trays here, no soil's being used. Again, they haven't had sunshine. They've been exposed to indoor lighting, and they're greening. You can see they're greening up beautiful. So they don't have to have soil or sunshine to still be rich in vitamins and minerals. They rival meat in nutritive value. A lot of people think that you have to eat meat to get your nutrients, but you are going to see as we go through the incredible package that God has provided, the package of nutrients. And we're going to focus on one in particular, and I'm going to show you what actually happens to that seed when we sprout it. You're going to see the jump in nutrition, so that'll come up a little bit later here. Sprouts can be grown indoors with a minimum amount of space. It doesn't require a lot of space. You can certainly grow in these sprouters, which would take a little bit more room. These are what I use at home. In our center, I've got 4 of them that I use, and they run almost non-stop. They're wonderful because they're automatic. You don't have to spend a lot of time. They can actually be plumbed in so that they will automatically fill. When the little float goes down, they'll fill, and then they can also be plumbed directly into the sewer so that when they're draining, they'll just go directly out with your gray water. So it's very easy to set this up. All you would have to do is put your seeds in and walk away. Come back in 3 days or 4 days or 7 days, depending what you're sprouting, and everything would be growing there for you. You wouldn't even have to worry about it. So that's the thing I like about this sprouter. It's a very nice tool. But you don't have to use something like this. You can certainly go with a jar. We've got sprouts growing in the jar here, and that is a simple way to do. It doesn't take a lot of space on the counter. How many of you have never sprouted before? Is there anyone? So some of you have never sprouted, actually quite a few. Okay. So I hope after tonight's presentation that you will be excited about sprouting. These classes that I do, I always, my goal, and I always let people know up front, is to get you excited to sprout, because I believe this is one of the best places that you can get your nutrition from. So they can be grown indoors, minimum amount of space. They multiply 400% or more in as little as 5 days. It's going to depend on which seeds that you're actually sprouting, but they can grow incredible In fact, if you would have seen the amount of seeds that we put into these little trays, and of course on the DVD we will be showing the amount of seeds, it was just a little sprinkle in the bottom of these trays. And already in just these 4 days, I believe it's been now, you can see how large some of these have gotten just in that little bit of time. So they're going to grow, depending on which ones that you're sprouting. In as little as 5 days, they can be multiplying that amount. They're a powerful source of antioxidants. Antioxidants. Does anyone remember we talked about antioxidants? What are the purpose of antioxidants? Why do we need them? Does anyone remember that? Okay, they help mop up the free radicals, absolutely. So sprouts are a wonderful source for getting those antioxidants. They are full of living enzymes and vital force, and also are a good source of essential fatty acids. If you look at sprouts, and maybe I'll just tilt one of these trays up, and you can just take a look and see, they look vibrant, don't they? They are alive, they're living, full of nutrients, enzymes, and vital force. They're also one of the highest sources of fiber. One of the highest sources of fiber. So if you're wanting to increase your fiber intake, sprouts are a wonderful place to be getting it. They have a generous supply of vitamins and an excellent array of minerals. Sprouts are loaded. They have a low glycemic index and are low in calories. Glycemic index is just a measurement of how rapidly a food would raise the sugar in your blood. And sprouts are very low. So for those who are concerned maybe about keeping their blood sugars more stable, sprouts are a wonderful food that you can consume to help you with that. They're also an excellent preventative medicine, and that's what we're going to focus in on tonight with some of these sprouts and see the benefits that you can use them for with your own possible health concerns that you may have. So let's start off. We'll take a look at a very common sprout, alfalfa sprouts. Alfalfa sprouts, most of us are familiar with what alfalfa sprouts look like, and they have a component called saponins. Saponins, just think of that as soap. Saponins in alfalfa have the potential of acting as cellular detergents, which helps to prevent cholesterol absorption from foods eaten. This is great because I teach this class to hundreds and hundreds of people who are in various stages of change in their diet and lifestyle, and some people are taking steps to improve to a healthier diet, and they still have some animal products in their diet. I encourage them that if they are still at that step, if they're working to get those things out of their diet, that while they're taking those in, consume alfalfa sprouts, because the alfalfa sprouts are going to help prevent the cholesterol absorption from those foods that are eaten. So that's a wonderful thing that they can be doing. They aid cellular communication, repair, and function. So they aid in the communication that takes place in the cells. The ability of cells to perceive and correctly respond to their microenvironment is the basis of development, tissue repair, and immunity, as well as normal tissue homeostasis. Errors in cellular information processing are responsible for diseases such as cancer, autoimmunity, and diabetes. So it's very important that those cells can actually perceive in their little microenvironment what is taking place, that they are communicating properly to prevent these errors from taking place. So alfalfa sprouts help to aid in that cellular communication, repair, and function. They also reduce plaque buildup inside artery walls. So if you have concerns about high blood pressure, if you have concerns that possibly there's buildup in those artery walls, alfalfa sprouts are great for helping to clear that plaque out of there. They lower triglycerides and low-density lipoproteins. So that's the LDL, what we know as our bad cholesterol, okay? So they'll help lower that. There's not really good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. It's more the ratio that we have. But it helps to bring that to a better level in our bodies. They're also one of the most alkaline plants. If you remember on a previous lecture, we showed you a pH scale. We showed you how our bodies need to be, the cell pH needs to be between a 7 and 8 to be in health. And these plants are very alkaline, so they help to bring our cell pH back up to a good alkaline level rather than maybe more acidic where disease sets in. The chlorophyll, together with the saponins, that's the soap, helps chelate and remove free radicals and toxic substances like heavy metals from the body. Does anyone know what the chlorophyll is? What is the chlorophyll? We've mentioned chlorophyll a couple of times. Do you know what that is? That's actually, if you remember, Rudy showed you a comparison between the chlorophyll and the red blood cells. Do you remember that? Okay, the chlorophyll is the green pigment. It's in everything that's green. You can see the green in these sprouts. They're loaded with chlorophyll, okay? But that chlorophyll works together with the saponins. That's kind of like that soap that we talked about initially, and it helps to chelate and remove those free radicals and toxic substances out of the body. Isn't that great? This is an easy way, very cheap way actually, to do chelation, very natural way to do chelation if you'd like to do that. The phytoestrogens in alfalfa may help balance estrogen levels for some women. Phyto just simply means plant. So these are plant estrogens, okay? And they can help in hormonal imbalance problems that some women have. They can help balance that out. So they're great for that. Alfalfa sprouts are very high in a vitamin called vitamin B17. How many of you have ever heard of vitamin B17? Has anyone heard of that? Okay. We've got 1 or 2 people that have heard of B17. B17 is actually known as, maybe a more familiar name, Laetrile. Have you heard of Laetrile? Yes. Okay, you're familiar with that one. People will buy those apricot pits and crack them open to get the little nut inside. Okay, that's a hard way to get your Laetrile or your vitamin B17. This is a much easier way to get it. And do you know what B17 is known for? What is Laetrile known for? Cancer. Okay, that's a cancer vitamin. In fact, there's a whole book that's been written on B17. It's called World Without Cancer, G. Edward Griffin, World Without Cancer, and he's writing all about B17 and the importance of that in cancer. But here you can get that very important vitamin, and it only takes about 100, you get over 100 grams per 100 grams of sprouts. Usually what I do is I weigh out a little 100-gram bunch of sprouts just to show you. But it's a small little bunch. It's maybe about that much of sprouts. Just a small, if I was to take a small little handful from here, a very small handful, that would be 100 grams of sprouts. You can easily put that into a green smoothie. Most people will actually put in a little bit more when they're putting sprouts in. They put a nice large handful of sprouts in. So it's very easy if you are wanting to get this very important cancer-fighting vitamin. Very easy to do through the alfalfa sprouts, and it doesn't take a lot. Let's take a look now at lentil sprouts. How many of you have ever had lentil sprouts? A few of you have had lentil sprouts. My favorite are the French, either French black lentils or French green lentils. Those are very, very nice when sprouted up. But you can sprout any lentil that has not been heated in some way or split. They will all sprout for you. And let's take a look at what lentil sprouts are great for. They have been used to cleanse and stimulate the kidneys and the adrenal system. Anyone suffer from adrenal fatigue? Or maybe you know of someone suffering from adrenal fatigue. The adrenals are the little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And a lot of times, because we live in such a fast-paced, high-driven society, we're burning up those poor little adrenals, are constantly pumping out that adrenaline, and we are burning them out. And eventually that catches up with us, and then we get adrenal fatigue. And these wonderful sprouts here have been used to cleanse and stimulate the kidneys and adrenal system and help that to repair. So they will help to increase and improve your energy if your energy is sagging because of adrenal fatigue. They are also beneficial for strengthening the heart and the circulation. So if you would like to strengthen your heart, if you would like to improve your circulation, these are a great sprout to be including. The soluble fiber increases 300% in these sprouts in only 3 to 4 days in the sprouted seeds compared to the dry seeds. So if you were to compare to the dry lentil and you compared that with the sprouted lentils, the soluble fiber is jumping by 300%. That's incredible. So great source of fiber. They also help to lower our LDL, cholesterol, and also our blood pressure. They increase energy and vitality. Is there anyone here who would not want more energy? No hands went up, I'm glad. Actually, I have to ask that every class I do this, because years ago I actually was doing a class and I asked the question, and someone did put their hand up and she said she did not want more energy. I thought, wow, okay, I'll take yours. I wouldn't mind more energy. Most people want more energy. This is a great sprout to increase your energy and your vitality. Also, lentil sprouts lower blood sugars and, watch this one, regulate insulin levels. So it's great if you have diabetes or if you have concerns with insulin resistance, things like that. This is a great sprout to be including because it helps control that, helps to regulate that. Okay, let's look at another sprout here. Let's look at broccoli sprouts. These are by far my most favorite sprout. These are wonderful little sprouts, and I think you'll see why as we go. All the brassicas, that's that whole family of cruciferous vegetables, all the brassicas are an excellent source of sulfur, an important mineral for its cleansing and antiseptic effect on the blood and digestive systems. Sulfur is essential for healthy hair, nails, and skin, and for protein and carbohydrate absorption. So sulfur is a very, very important mineral. Sulfur is what gives that whole family its smell. You know, when you cut a cabbage and you discard some of it into the compost and you walk by, you know, a few hours later, and there's that very strong, almost diaper pail smell. Okay, that's the sulfur that you're smelling. And all of the brassicas, all of them in that cruciferous family, so your cabbage, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, your radishes, broccoli, of course, all of those in that family have that high amount of sulfur. So they're all very excellent for these purposes. So radish sprouts as well would be very excellent for helping with these things, healthy hair, skin, nails, and so forth. Broccoli sprouts help to provide oxygen to the blood and work together with chlorine. Now that's not the bleach, that's the mineral, okay? So they work together with chlorine to cleanse the body of wastes, clearing congestion like sinusitis, assisting liver and immune function, and weight loss. Isn't that interesting? That's how that works. They're a very rich source of vitamin A. What do we need vitamin A for? Eyesight, yes, absolutely, eyesight. And they're a very rich source of vitamin A. Contains high amounts of sulforaphane. Now this is probably my most favorite part of the broccoli sprouts because of that compound sulforaphane. Now this compound enters the bloodstream within hours after eating, and it goes to work detoxifying carcinogens. What are carcinogens? Cancer-causing agents, okay, so it's detoxifying those and carrying them away from the cells. Isn't that wonderful? We talked about when we did the lecture on excitotoxins, and we talked about how within hours of ingesting these excitotoxins, 1 to 3 hours, we were getting brain cells that were either destroyed or permanently damaged. That was happening in a very short time. Look at what God's given us. He's given us something that within hours is actually working to heal our bodies. Isn't that great? I love doing this presentation because normally the classes, when we're holding this in our retreat center, this class comes shortly after all of our guests have had a nice green smoothie that was loaded with broccoli sprouts. And so I can tell them, listen, this is already going to work in your body, clearing out carcinogens, things that cause cancer. And to me, that is so exciting that God's given us something that can work like that. I find it fantastic. Sulforaphane, you're going to see more about that here shortly. Broccoli sprouts also have a compound called I3C, that's indoles-3-carbonyl. And that promotes the production of a safer form of estrogen that does not promote estrogen-dependent cancers. Isn't that fantastic? We have such an increase of breast cancer taking place, estrogen-dependent cancers, and this is one of the most powerful sprouts that can work to prevent and help repair the body in those cases. Wonderful, wonderful sprout. Let's look at what some of the experts say about broccoli sprouts. I would say if you're at all worried about cancer or at high risk of cancer, especially of prostate or colon cancer, then increasing your dietary intake of broccoli and other vegetables could be a good idea. Notice they have to say could be. They can't really say it is a good idea, so they have to kind of, watch their wording here. The compound in broccoli may be one of the strongest anti-cancer fighters we have. This is coming from Dr. Ho, researcher with Linus Pauling Institute and assistant professor in Department of Nutrition and Exercise Sciences at OSU. So again, confirming that broccoli, the compound in broccoli, and they're referring to the sulforaphane, could be one of the strongest anti-cancer fighters that we have. Let's look at what Dr. Paul Talalay has to say. 3-day-old broccoli sprouts consistently contain 20 to 50 times the amount of chemoprotective compounds found in mature broccoli heads and may offer a simple dietary means of chemically reducing cancer risk. Isn't that amazing? That's what these little sprouts are growing in this tray right here. These are broccoli. And broccoli sprouts, what a simple way to be consuming these sprouts that can reduce your cancer risk so significantly, 20 to 50 times the chemoprotective properties that mature broccoli would have. In fact, if you wanted to consume 1 ounce of broccoli sprouts, which again is 1 ounce is a very small amount of sprout, 1 ounce contains the equivalent of 2.5 pounds of the full-grown broccoli heads. You would never be able to sit down and eat 2.5 pounds of full-grown broccoli, but you could easily consume a number of ounces of broccoli sprouts very simply in smoothies. We'll talk about other ways that you can consume your sprouts. So this is a great cancer fighter and also for protection in our bodies. Let's take a look at, I'm not going to try to even pronounce his name. He's a medical doctor and PhD of the university in, again, Japan, and I'm not even going to attempt that, but here's what he has to say. H. pylori causes a condition called gastritis, that's inflammation in the stomach, which enormously increases a person's risk of stomach cancer. Sulforaphane kills H. pylori. Isn't that interesting? The compound can be found in small amounts in regular mature broccoli, but broccoli sprouts are by far the best source. And again, gastritis is precursor to stomach cancer. So again, as we consume this, if we have issues with H. pylori or even gastritis, this can help to repair that, kill the H. pylori, and protect us again from possibly carrying on to stomach cancer. Very, very wonderful. So broccoli sprouts, those are my favorite. Fenugreek sprouts, these are probably Rudy's favorite, simply for the smell. These have a smell very similar, at least to his smell, that smells like Girl Guide cookies, and he just loves to smell them. They don't taste quite like that. This is actually a little bit stronger tasting sprout, so this is one that you would use mixed in with other sprouts. This isn't one that you would really eat just all by itself, but it's wonderful when it's in a mix. In fact, we have a mix right here. This is called Ancient Eastern Blend, and this particular mix has fenugreek mixed in with it. There's 4 different types of seeds growing in here, and the fenugreek is in there. So it's wonderful when it's mixed in with another sprout or several sprouts or in a salad, something like that where it's kind of spread out a bit. So let's take a look at fenugreek sprouts. These are a sprout that's good for almost everything from A to Z. They have a beneficial action on cleansing the blood. Beneficial action on cleansing the blood. So this is a great way to clean the blood. They cleanse the lymphatic system, removing toxic waste, dead cells, and trapped proteins. They stimulate and fortify the immune system. So this is a good way to boost up your immune system, especially those times of the year, maybe when the flu is going around or things that you're concerned about, you want to boost up your immune system. Great way to do it with the fenugreek sprouts. They are useful when added to the daily regime of any person dealing with cancer, particularly breast cancer, as they help to clear the lymph nodes of the breast region. Probably many of us here tonight know someone that has breast cancer, struggling with breast cancer. This would be something that you could recommend to them to help them to clear out those lymph nodes and thus help improve the body's fight against that disease. They are a powerful antioxidant used for head colds, influenza, constipation, bronchial complaints, asthma, emphysema, pneumonia, tuberculosis, sore throat, hay fever, and sinusitis. And there's more. They're also excellent for peptic ulcers and inflamed conditions of the stomach and bowel as they absorb toxic material and eliminate it. Isn't that great? They're going to actually absorb that toxic material and take it out of your body. They have a healing, soothing action and create a protective coating like a lubricant over inflamed areas. So for instance, a person who has, say, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, if they have colitis, or if they have some other inflammation that's taking place in the digestive system, this can help to put that coating like a lubricant over there, and it actually allows the body to heal and helps prevent the pain and other negative symptoms that are involved with that. Wonderful for that. Other medicinal uses include indigestion, allergies, anemia, chronic fatigue, sciatica. How about that one? Sciatica. Arthritis, blood poisoning, acne, headache, ear infection, glaucoma, sore eyes, ulcers, weight loss, etc. That list actually went on and on and on. I will recommend a book where a lot of this information came from. It's written by Isabelle Shepard. It's only available in Australia, but you can order it from her, and she ships, of course, all over the world. And it's called How to Use, I believe it's called How to Use Sprouts as Living Foods. If you Google Isabelle Shepard, and you'll get a list of the books that she's done, but she's got this one all on sprouting, very well researched. She will give you all of the medicinal properties of the different sprouts, culinary uses. It's just loaded with information, so it's a fantastic book. And she had quite a list actually that was there that the fenugreek sprouts helped with. So that's one that you can kind of remember goes from A to Z, that sprout. Let's take a look at mung bean sprouts. Now mung bean sprouts, before we look at the properties that they have for preventative purposes in our bodies, I would like to share with you what actually happens to that seed when we sprout it. Most of you are probably familiar with what mung beans look like unsprouted. They're just a little green bean that looks sort of like this. I don't know if you can see that okay, but it's just a very small little green bean. We've got some sprouted ones right here in this jar. So they're going to sprout and they're going to now look like this, okay? So they've gone from that tiny little bean to this. And what I want to show you is what happens when we take that little dry seed and we actually sprout it. What takes place in the nutrition of that bean? So let's take a look. First of all, protein availability. So the available protein in that little bean now, when we sprout it, increases by 30%. Wow, isn't that something? Protein jumps up when we sprout it. Calcium. Did you know there was calcium in something like a mung bean? And when you sprout it, it increases by 34%. 34%. Wonderful. Potassium. Look at the potassium. It's going to jump by 80% when you sprout that. Amazing. And what do we need potassium for? We need that for muscle building, water control, and neutralizing acids. It's also necessary for the normal health of the adrenal glands. So there again, to help keep those adrenals healthy, working well. Aids in waste elimination, helps keep the heart rhythms normal. Anybody suffering from abnormal heart rhythms, this can help. Potassium helps, and we're jumping up the potassium as we sprout that mung bean. Increases blood and tissue alkalinity, so that means it's moving us to a more alkaline pH. Promotes vigor and health, and great for healthy hair and nerves. So potassium is a very important nutrient, and we're increasing that nutrient by 80% when we sprout those mung beans. That's amazing. Let's take a look at the next one, sodium. Now some people might be thinking, boy, I'm on a low sodium diet and I don't want any extra sodium. But actually sodium in its natural form is known as the youth element. Sodium is extremely necessary in your body. You cannot live without sodium. It's very important. You would die without it. But sodium is known as the youth element, and you're going to see what happens here. Look at that, 690% increase in sodium. Isn't that amazing when you sprout those little mung beans? Our next nutrient, iron, let's take a look at iron. It's going to jump by 40%. Wow, 40%. So if you're needing more iron, if your iron is low, you've had a blood test and your iron is low, start eating these wonderful sprouts. God has given us a very simple method to get nutrition into our body, the nutrition that our bodies are desperately needing. Iron, of course, is vital for the formation of red blood cells. It builds up the quality of the blood. It increases the resistance to stress and disease. That's important. It attracts oxygen to the blood and carries it to all systems, tissues, and organs. It improves circulation, digestion, elimination, and respiration. Look at this. It also improves reasoning ability and memory. We talked about memory, okay? Iron is important for having a good memory. So again, this sprout can provide us with that increase in iron, 40% increase. Phosphorus, look at phosphorus. It's going to jump up 56%. Phosphorus, what do we need that for? It nourishes the brain. Wow, we talked about the brain and how important it is for us to work to keep that in peak condition. This is a nutrient that is important for that. Stimulates the intellect. Essential for the production of body energy. Improves nerve nutrition. That is very important, especially, for instance, someone with MS or other problems with the nerves. This is an important nutrient, and again, we have increased that amount of phosphorus simply by sprouting the mung bean. Aids regular heartbeat and normal kidney function, and builds healthy bones and teeth. Very important nutrient. Okay, let's take a look at our next one, vitamin A. We already talked about what we need vitamin A for, good eyesight. Look at what happens with vitamin A. A 285% increase. Okay, so let's get those sprouts in. It's going to help improve our eyesight, definitely. Vitamin B1, let's look at vitamin B1, a 208% increase. What do we need vitamin B1 for? Let's see. For healthy muscle tone and growth. Helps all kinds of stress. So it's going to help us with our stressful work that we may have or environment that we're living in. Preserves the health of the nervous system, muscles, and heart, and provides energy and improves learning capacity. Isn't that amazing? And we're getting a 208% increase when we sprout that seed. Vitamin B2, let's see. Look at this, 515% increase in vitamin B2. What do we need that for? It's needed for the cell respiration. That's the movement of things in and out of the cell. Necessary for the formation of red blood cells and antibodies. It benefits vision, benefits your vision. Promotes healthy skin, nails, and hair, and helps in stress situations. So again, this is a very important nutrient to help us in a number of areas, but in stress. And we're getting this huge increase of 515% when we sprout those mung beans. And just amazing. Vitamin B3 increases 256%. I guess it didn't want to stay there. It assists in the metabolism and utilization of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So it's going to actually help us metabolize our nutrients and use them in the body. Promotes a healthy digestive system, necessary for the health of the skin and the tongue, and it's essential for the body's production of cortisol, thyroxine, insulin, and other hormones. So this is going to help balance our hormonal systems in our body. Necessary for healthy nervous system and brain function. Here's another one that's going to help us with good brain function. Increases circulation and reduces cholesterol. So that's a very important nutrient that we need in our body. And again, that one is jumping up, increasing as we sprout the seed. Vitamin C. Vitamin C has an infinite increase. An infinite increase. It's not even measurable. This is so fantastic. We actually could have picked on any sprout that we've been talking about tonight, and you would see very similar profiles. Of course, different nutrients in there would jump high. You know, it's going to have different amounts. All of your sprouts are amazing, but I just picked on one to show you what happens when you sprout that seed. Anybody want to try some of our mung bean sprouts after all that? We've got some hands back there. Okay, I just want to show you, before this carries on, I don't know why it's wanting to jump 2 screens here, but let's just go back for a minute here, see if it will cooperate. Okay, I just want to show you, I've highlighted, I've starred 4 of the nutrients up there, the protein, potassium, the vitamin B1, and the vitamin C. Those particular nutrients are heat sensitive. That means if we heat those, or any food actually that would contain those nutrients, they will be destroyed. Okay? I just want to let you know that because a lot of times people will, and again, I'm not saying you can never have a stir fry which has your bean sprouts in there, but I just want you to be aware that if you do heat them, you have to be aware that those particular nutrients are going to be destroyed with heat. They're compromised with heat, okay? So just so you're aware of that. Vitamin C is basically completely destroyed with heat. So just as a little side, a lot of times people will say, they'll come to us and they'll say, well, I'm not going to do my fresh juicing, I'm going to go and buy bottled juices. And so they'll buy those juices and they'll see the high amounts of the different nutrients, including vitamin C, which, you know, can have, depending on the juice, it may have, you know, 5 times your daily recommended amount of vitamin C in there. It did before they pasteurized it. But after they've pasteurized it, that vitamin C is not there. So just remember those nutrients, if you're seeking to get those nutrients in, you don't want a food that's been heated, cooked, pasteurized, because you have destroyed those nutrients. Okay? So let's take a look now at the mung bean sprouts, what they are good for medicinally. They fight fevers, chest colds, and infections. Well, you would expect that high amount of vitamin C, that infinite increase in the vitamin C, you would expect that to be a very important nutrient for that. They fight infectious diseases like chickenpox, mumps, boils, and skin diseases. So they're going to fight all those infectious diseases. They're excellent for painful urination, kidney and bladder inflammation, gastrointestinal ulcers, and for diabetes. So here's another one that's good for diabetes. They assist in strengthening the eyesight. Again, we would expect that high jump in the vitamin A, 208%. We would expect to have it helping us with our eyesight. They help to correct high blood pressure and cholesterol. So they're helping with that. Cleansing the liver and the blood. Fantastic. Helping to balance the metabolism. A lot of times we get people coming to us and they'll say, my metabolism has completely stopped working. Well, your metabolism has not completely stopped working, maybe sluggish, but everyone has a metabolism that is working. But this can help to rebalance that metabolism. It can help to correct it if it has gotten sluggish. Look at this. You can use mung bean sprouts regularly in the summer for the cooling effect, reducing body heat, quenching thirst, and clearing hot, damp mucus conditions of the body. So it has that effect that it will clear those out. Very good to use in the summer for that. Mung beans are also known for their strong detoxifying effects on the body, particularly to cleanse the heart and vascular system. So if that is an area that's important to you, this would be a good sprout to be including in your diet. A rice and mung bean fast. That means you would just be consuming rice and mung beans. Your rice would be cooked. Ideally, you want to be having brown rice, not the white rice. And you would have half of what you're having at your meal would be your rice, and the other half would be your mung bean sprouts. So this is what they're talking about, and that is what you would have. Some people will have it for a meal. Some people will do a rice and mung bean fast maybe for a couple of days, okay? Whatever you would like, but it's known for its balancing effect on every facet of the body and the mind, and has a strong ability to purge toxins and pathogens from the body. So that's an excellent little fast that a person can do. And again, you can just do it for a meal if you would like, and give your body that little boost to help cleanse toxins and pathogens and help rebalance things in your body. Okay, let's take a look at the sunflower seed sprouts. I love the sunflower seed sprouts taste-wise. Has anyone ever had sunflower seed sprouts? You've had them? They are so good. They are so good. If you love the taste of sunflower, fresh sunflower, you will love the taste, really love the taste of the sunflower sprouts. They are so good and very, very good for you, as we're going to see here. So sunflower seed sprouts, let's take a look. The essential fatty acids in sunflower seeds provide a beneficial action in cleaning arteries, reducing the LDL cholesterol levels, and preventing heart disease. Very important, those essential fatty acids, for those purposes. Sunflower seeds are very high in calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and look at this, vitamin D. We talked about in our sunlight presentation about the importance of getting enough vitamin D. And here is a seed, when you sprout it, it's going to increase that vitamin D. Wonderful way to be getting extra vitamin D into your system. So eat sunflower seeds, and of course, if you can sprout them, you will absolutely love them. And they grow up, by the way, to make these nice tall shoots, much like we've got some pea shoots here. They'll grow up to be much like that when you sprout them. Very similar to that type of a look. So the calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and vitamin D makes them very important for building strong bones, tendons, muscles, teeth, hair, skin, nails, and eyesight. So wonderful for all of those purposes in our body. Great little seed. 100 grams of seeds provide 7.2 milligrams of iron, making sunflower seeds richer in iron than almost any other food. You don't normally, typically think of sunflower seeds or sprouts as being a good iron source, but they're excellent for iron, almost better than any other food. The pectin content helps to expel radioactivity from the system. If you have been exposed to X-rays, this is a fantastic sprout to be eating to help expel that radioactivity out of your system. Excellent for that. Also, they help to treat and relieve constipation, fatigue. They help strengthen the spleen and the pancreas. Fantastic. Sunflower seeds have been used medicinally for arthritis, rheumatism, headaches, blurred vision, high blood pressure, fluid retention, asthma, cancer, bleeding gums, bronchitis, coughs, colds, and again, that was a list that carried on with many more things that they were good for. Fantastic seeds and sprouts to be consuming in your diet. Buckwheat sprouts. This is probably my second favorite sprout, right behind broccoli. This is a fantastic sprout. Has anyone had buckwheat sprouts? No one's had buckwheat? Oh, you've had buckwheat sprouts. Okay, great little sprout. You're going to see some of the properties of this sprout. Wonderful. Sprouted buckwheat is an amazing food because it tastes like a grain, but is actually gluten and wheat-free and is not a grain at all. Wonderful for those who cannot consume gluten grains. It is one of the most complete sources of protein on the planet, and it contains all 8 essential amino acids. Fantastic for a complete balance of those. It makes it perfect for diabetics and those who want to cut down on their sugary carbohydrates and balance their blood sugar levels. They're also known to lower high blood pressure. Quite a few of these sprouts you've seen work on clearing arteries, lowering triglycerides and our LDL cholesterol, and helping bring our cholesterol, or our blood pressure levels down. Sprouts in general are very good for that. So consume a good variety of those sprouts to help you with those issues. Sprouted buckwheat also cleanses the colon and alkalizes the body. Again, that's going to help move our pH back to a more alkaline state. Buckwheat is a wonderful superfood, helping to reverse varicose veins and hardening of the arteries. So if you're concerned with varicose veins, or even what are called those little spider veins, this is a wonderful food for helping to reverse that and repair that. When veins become weak, blood and fluids accumulate and leak into nearby tissues, which may cause varicose veins and hemorrhoids. The sprouts, the buckwheat sprouts, are full of a compound called rutin, which is a compound known to strengthen blood vessel walls. It actually will help strengthen all the walls of your blood vessels, veins, arteries. So any conditions, if you have conditions that you currently have or concerned about, maybe family history, things like aneurysms, so forth, strengthen the walls of your blood vessels with this very, very important sprout. It's amazing. And if you've never had the opportunity to try it, it tastes so good. It is such a tasty little sprout. This healing food is also rich in lecithin, making it a wonderful cholesterol balancer because lecithin soaks up excess LDL cholesterol and prevents it from being absorbed. Isn't that amazing? Lecithin is also very important for another reason. It neutralizes toxins and purifies the lymphatic system, taking some of the workload off of the liver. So it's going to help if we have congested livers or toxic livers, it's going to help with that. And research suggests that consuming foods rich in lecithin on a regular basis may actually prevent anxiety, depression, brain fog, mental fatigue, and generally make the brain sharper and clearer. Isn't that something? That is amazing. It is a brain superfood. If you want a brain superfood, lecithin is a brain superfood, and buckwheat contains a large amount of it. So it's a great sprout to be putting in for those purposes. Now down here, actually, I've shown a little picture of what the seeds look like. You can get them hulled or unhulled, okay? If you get them unhulled, and I think we have some up here, they're going to have these little black hulls on them. These would be more suitable for sprouting in soil. They would be better suited for sprouting that way. And they will grow up and make wonderful green shoots. Again, very similar to what our pea shoots look like here. They'll be very, very similar to that. The way I like to do them is get the buckwheat that is already hulled and sprout that. And when we get to our directions on how to sprout, I will tell you actually how to sprout that to make a wonderful, well, I'm not going to give you the recipe for the granola. You can watch our presentation where we do the recipes, and I show you actually how to make a sprouted buckwheat granola. But I'll tell you how to sprout the granola, or sprout the buckwheat rather, for that granola. Very simple to do, and very tasty. You'll really enjoy them. Okay. Buckwheat is high in iron, so it's a good blood builder. So this is another sprout that's great for building up the blood, high in iron. Because it's high in boron and calcium, it helps tremendously with osteoporosis. So if you have any concerns about osteoporosis, this is excellent to be consuming. Sprouted buckwheat is high in flavonoids and coenzyme Q10. Very good for that. And buckwheat sprouts contain all of the B vitamins, magnesium, manganese, and selenium, as well as many other health-giving compounds. All of those B vitamins mean then that this particular food is going to be very beneficial in helping you deal and manage stress. It's going to help the body with that. And in a future seminar that we will be presenting, we're going to be sharing what stress does in our bodies. It affects something called the telomeres. And stress is very damaging. It's aging us. Okay? This is something that helps repair and prevent that from taking place. So very, very important to manage that stress. Now let's take a look at how to sprout. First of all, you're going to place about 2 or 3 tablespoons of your choice of seed into a glass quart jar and fill that jar approximately half full with water. You're just wanting to give it a soak. You want to give it a good soak. And again, the quantity of seeds you put in can vary. I just put this up as a suggestion, 2 or 3 tablespoons, simply because if you've not sprouted before, you want to start small. First of all, you may not like that particular sprout. That's okay. Not everybody likes every sprout. You'll find the ones that you really like and ones that maybe you're not so crazy about. So start small. That way, if it's something you're not real crazy about, you haven't wasted a lot of seed. Again, if you're starting small, you'll get an idea as to the quantity it makes. Because if you have not sprouted before, it might look like just a small amount of seed going in, but it's going to make a fair amount of sprouts. And again, you'll have to figure out how much for your family or for your needs, how much you're going to need. So it's a good idea. Start with a couple of tablespoons, and you can, of course, increase from there as you need to. Then you're going to cover that jar with a piece of cheesecloth and secure it with a rubber band. Let it soak overnight. So we have some jars here where we've got some cheesecloth on. We've put a rubber band, or you can use a jar ring like what we've got on the jar with the mung beans sprouts in there. You're just going to let that jar sit on your counter overnight, okay? And it's going to start to soak, and those seeds are going to release what's called their enzyme inhibitors, okay? Every seed or bean or even a nut has what's called an enzyme inhibitor. Those are properties which prevent the enzymes from working to start breaking that down. So it lasts, you know, pretty much indefinitely. So you can have grain or seeds, you can store them for long-term use. A tomato, on the other hand, does not have enzyme inhibitors. So if you store that on your counter, very soon those enzymes are going to be breaking that down and it's going to go bad. That's why seeds and grains and nuts and so forth do not go bad, because of those inhibitors. But once you soak that seed or grain or nut, now you've removed those enzyme inhibitors, and now it can start to sprout. Now it can actually go bad, okay, once you remove that. But that's what you're doing here. You're going to let it soak overnight and remove those enzyme inhibitors. The next morning, you drain that soak water off the seeds, rinse, drain well, and place the jar on its side on the counter. Or another way you can do it is just tilt that jar up on an angle in your dish rack and just let it drain. The seeds want to be kept moist but not wet. If you leave them in water, if there's water in the bottom of the jar after you pour it out, if you don't drain it well and there's water sitting there, those seeds are going to start to mold on you. So you want to be sure that, that you keep the water drained off well, but keep them moist at the same time. So therefore, you're going to have to give them a rinse throughout the day. Now, I usually recommend give them a rinse about 3 times. So when you get up in the morning, sometime midday, and then again in the evening before you go to bed. That will do very well, and make sure again that you drain them well after you rinse them. Now, for those of you that may have schedules or a lifestyle that's not supporting taking care of your seeds like that, then I would recommend going with an automatic sprouter, because your sprouter is going to do your rinsing for you when you're not there. And I find them so handy. There's a little timer that plugs into the wall, and you will set that for as often as you want. This particular sprouter mists, so it has the water reservoir in the back. A little pump will pull that water up, and it will send out a fine mist over these sprouts, and they love that. And then the water collects and runs out through the drainage tube on the side. So this again, I usually set mine to rinse for about every 3 hours. They'll do a little bit of a mist. And you could adjust that to whatever area that you're in. If you're in a very dry area, if you were in, let's say, California where it was hot and dry, or someplace, you know, that you wanted it to rinse more, you could have it rinse more. Or if you wanted it to rinse less, again, you just set your timer and adjust it how often you want that to rinse. So this is excellent for someone who does not have a schedule that allows them the luxury of maybe giving that rinse midday. Okay? Now, during hot weather, you may need to rinse a third time as the seeds begin to sprout. I actually recommend that you do that third rinse, and that will prevent you getting the mold and things that sometimes people have trouble with. Be gentle with rinsing so as not to break off the sprout tails. So if you're using a jar and you take that jar and you put it under your tap, and if you put it straight under, that water is going to just sort of blast into the jar, and you take then the chance of maybe breaking those little tails off. You don't want to break the tail, because if you break the tail, it's not going to grow anymore, and therefore it could start to go bad on you. So what I usually do is sort of put my jar on an angle and just let the water run in down the side of the jar. You're just going to let that fill right up and let them have a good rinse, and then you're just going to pour that off. But you're not going to shake that around real hard or do anything that's going to maybe cause damage to that little sprout tail. You want to keep that intact. Okay. The sprouts should be ready to eat within 3 to 5 days. It's going to depend on the size of the seed that you started with. We've got a variety of seeds here. We have some small seeds, for instance, like this broccoli. Broccoli over here, we've got kale over there. These seeds are going to take a little bit longer. They're going to take probably close to about 7 days. Your small seeds are going to take somewhere close to 7 days. This is our broccoli, and this one here is our kale, actually, that's growing. These, we would let them go for another couple of days, and they would be nice, tall shoots like this that would be just beautiful. Now, I don't know if our cameras can get in close on this or not. But in the bottom, if the cameras can get in close, in the bottom there you'll see very fuzzy little rootlets, very fuzzy little rootlets. If you were to look at that initially, you would think, oh my, that's molding. It's going bad. That's not mold. Look close. What that is your tiny little rootlets, those tiny little hairs. It might be easier actually if I hold up the radishes here. We've got radishes here. And this, I think, would show a little bit easier. On the side there, I don't know if you can see that, it almost looks like it's molding. Doesn't it look like fuzzy white mold? If you look very close, that is not mold. That is the little rootlet hairs. And so many people, I show people this because when I've done the classes over the years, I had people coming back and saying, you know, I did my broccoli, I was so faithful to rinse it, you know, and make sure that it was not drying out or sitting in water, and it molded. And so I've said, go look at those sprouts and look close, because you will probably find it's the little rootlets. You would know if this was going moldy because it would start getting slimy and it would have a bad smell to it. And you would know if it doesn't look good and doesn't smell good, and the little sprouts would start falling over, and you would know it was going bad. So you'll be able to tell the difference very easily between something that's moldy or the little rootlet hairs there. But just to let you know, because for those of you, and that would be for any of the sprouts that are in that family of the cruciferous vegetables, so your radish, broccoli, kale, if you were doing cauliflower, cabbage, the cabbage, they all do the same thing. So just so that you know on that one. So the bigger seeds now that we did, the mung bean or say the lentil, we have lentil back here. That's this jar here. And this jar here is our mung bean. Those are bigger seeds. You'll see the difference between those seeds, for instance, and these ones. These ones are small. These ones are a lot bigger. And the bigger seeds are going to be ready. These are not going to grow to get a nice green shoot on them. You're not going to leave them that long. So your bigger seeds are going to be ready roughly in about 3 days. So they don't take long to do. Little seeds are going to take closer to 7 days. Radish are kind of in between. They take 4 days. So these are our radishes here, and they're just perfect for eating right now. There's all kinds of different radish. There's daikon radish or whatever type of radish. The rose radish are really good. Again, remember that when you sprout something, it's going to have a stronger taste than its full-grown counterpart. Okay, so if you like radish, to just eat a radish, remember when you sprout them, they're going to be much stronger. So this would be something, again, because of the peppery taste of it, you would sprinkle it throughout a salad or sandwich or something. You wouldn't have like a whole clump of it because it would be much too strong. And again, broccoli you might find, because it's, again, going to be much stronger than the full-grown broccoli. Now, buckwheat, I don't have buckwheat here to show you, the unhulled buckwheat. But buckwheat, when you're doing the unhulled buckwheat, it's very quick to do. You give it an overnight soak, so the same as you would do your other seeds, you're going to soak it overnight. It's only going to sprout for 24 hours. It grows its little tails very rapidly. So it only takes 24 hours, and it's got a nice little tail on there, and it's just perfect for making all kinds of things. And if you watch the DVD where I do the food demos, you will see a wonderful recipe for sprouted buckwheat granola. And that granola, then, we've done it in the dehydrator, and it's very delicious. So that would be something that you can try. Another thing that you can do with the sprouted buckwheat, a lot of times I will sprout it, just put it, after it's sprouted, into the dehydrator and dry it, and it becomes very crunchy. They call them buckwheat crunchies. You can just use that for a cereal. Put a nice milk on there, some fruit, and enjoy it that way. Or what I like to do is I make up granola bars. So I will take fruit and kind of pulse chop it in my food processor, maybe add a few other seeds and nuts to it, and I'll put sprouted buckwheat that I've dried. I will put that into the mix as well, and then I'll dehydrate that. And those sprouted buckwheat, if you've dried them in advance and then mixed them into something, they stay crunchy. They're crispy and crunchy in there, and it gives such a nice texture and flavor. It's really, really delicious. So great ways to have, but easy to do your sprouting. Very simple to do. So enjoy your sprouts in a variety of ways. This is a sandwich that has been made with black olive and pistachio pate, all raw, and then they've put the sprouts on top on a nice whole grain bread. Doesn't that just look so appetizing? Of course, you can put them into green smoothies. We talked about that. Salads. I've made cookies, believe it or not, and I've put my sprouts in, I've dehydrated my sprouts and mixed them into cookies, and then made those cookies either just balls that, or cookies that are kept raw or done in the dehydrator. Either way, they are fantastic. People will consume a lot of sprouts when they're mixed in with different things. So get creative. It's only limited by your imagination. Sprouts are wonderful in raw soups. So if you get into doing some more raw things, they're wonderful mixed into that. So there's just so many variety of ways that you can do them. And again, get creative with your sprouting. You might want to start with a couple of different seeds, but keep expanding. Try all of the different seeds. I've recently just got a package of carrot seeds for sprouting, and it comes from Mums. And I would really recommend this company to you, Mums, for those who are in Canada, and I don't know, I believe there's a US site as well. But Mums sprouting seeds, I've been dealing with them for years, probably I would say at least 10 or 12 years now. And always, their seeds are always fresh. I've never had a problem with their seeds. They're very prompt in their shipping. They have been an excellent company to deal with. They have a wide variety of seeds. Their website is sprouting.com, sprouting.com. And I just recently got the carrot seeds from them and their little description of what carrot sprouts are like. I've never had a carrot sprout, but their little description of carrot sprouts is that they taste like baby carrots. So I'm really excited to try them. It sounds delicious. So I hope that this has gotten all of you excited about sprouting. You can see the wonderful potential that we have by putting sprouts into our body. This is living food. And if you remember when we talked about the hierarchy of food preparation, if we're getting about 25% of our foods coming from living foods like our baby greens and sprouts, that is ideal for helping. Does anyone remember what the term was for living foods that we talked about? Life, do you remember? Biogenic foods, remember? So those are life-producing foods. These are foods that actually will produce life in your body. So consume them regularly for great health. Thank you.